Welcome to Curated by Culture. I'm your curator, Cassandra. Thank you as always for joining me. I have on earrings. My mother's always like, "Why don't you wear earrings?" I have on earrings today, Ma. Thank you. Did I say thank you for joining me? Oh, I already forgot. Um, how's your head? How's your heart? Please don't forget to check in with yourselves. I really do care about you, and I want to make sure that you guys are all right. And I mean that sincerely. That's not just something I say for this show and for the people who follow and listen, but I mean that sincerely. Like, please check in with yourselves. Please know that if you're not all right, you can email me, text me, call me, DM me, however you find me through this platform. Reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to be somebody to talk to, somebody to just listen, somebody to go have dinner or drink with, somebody to travel the world with. I can be that if you're not okay. I promise you that. Um, I had fully intended to get on here today and talk about like platonic love since I'm still in my love series. I'm still on my Lovealution. But I was kind of sidetracked by something and now I can't like stray from it and it's just sitting right here. And so my head, though personally and for like my family and everything, my head is great in that. My head is not all right when it comes to this some of my thoughts right now. Not one particular thing because there's a bunch of things, but I was like, you know what? It's still at the essence of it and what's bothering me is still about love. I guess it's like love of humanity in a way or love of people in a way, but um I'm kind of putting myself back into social media, maybe reintegrating might be the word, into social media spaces where I'm like more on here, more on that, like just coming back because I've been really on a break. Like everybody just thinks I don't post in this and that. I don't post a lot, but I've really been just on a break, just kind of getting my life, not my life together, but taking time to rest before I get busy because I'm going to get busy, and once I get busy I don't have time for much else. But as I was scrolling through and was watching the news because I had seen something on Twitter, so I turned on CNN and big mistake. Um I'm just seeing so much of the world and things that are happening and I'm sad. Like I literally shed a tear before I hit record and was like, "Oh, get it together, girl." But I can't shake it and I couldn't even like at this point I can't even think about what it was I wanted to say about platonic love. And so here we are. Um I like I mentioned in another episode, I kept saying like, everybody kept saying TikToks for the kids, TikToks for the kids. The kids were on there doing dances. It was cute and all that stuff in the beginning. But like I said on the other episode, like the kids are not all right. And the more time I spent there and the more time I spend there, I'm like, are you guys okay? Like, and I'm asking these kids that. Like, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on anything that my daughter's on for the sole purpose of, what's happening in these spaces where she is. Funny enough, my daughter's not on any of this stuff. Like, she has accounts, but she doesn't join it because she's like, it's just terrible. And I'm so grateful and I feel so blessed that I have a child who does not operate like the rest of the world, but the rest of the world operates like the rest of the world. And that's where I feel like I'm uniquely agitated, where I know it's just me, and I understand that a lot of people don't care, and I understand it's one of those things, but I do feel like as a community we do have some responsibility. And when I say as a community, I'm definitely talking about Black people in this case. And I know I have people of all ethnicities that listen to me, but because this is my community and these are people that I love, I feel like this is my responsibility. We're not all right. Women don't understand men. Men don't understand women. We don't understand each other. We've forgotten all about God. Like the way I see people now treat religion, treat God, talk about Jesus, I'm like, what happened? Where did we lose him? I understand that churches kind of lost a lot of people because church hurt is a real thing, and people leave churches because of what churches tend to do to people. And I understand that the more we evolve as humans, especially this younger generation, who, there's good and bad. I think the good of the younger generation is they understand themselves a little bit better. They just don't understand life enough. And that's where us as adults need to step in. One, we need to be more understanding of the next generation. We need to understand that their feelings are valid. Growing up, did my parents, I don't remember my parents ever really said those things to me, because my mother is such a mom. Like, if you cry, my mother's a mom. Like, she's like, "Are you okay?" Like, she wants to know. Um, but as a lot of people grew up, it was like the only reason you should cry. Like, there's no reason for you to cry. The only reason you should cry if something happens to me. I'm not dead or something like that. I knew people whose parents said that, or even still, my daughter's friends, like a lot of them, they always say how their parents don't understand them, like how they're not jealous or envious, but they love our relationship, because I really do try to understand my daughter. And when we disagree on things, I definitely give her the space to tell me how she's feeling, because I want to understand how she's feeling. I think we lack a lot of that when it comes to the younger generations, because we think we know better, and that's where we mess up. We have wisdom to share, our mistakes, our regrets, our misunderstandings, especially relationally. If we understood better back then that, no, I shouldn't be married at 22 or 23, and no, I shouldn't be having kids at a younger age, we could have conveyed that and expressed that to this next generation, but we didn't do that. We a lot of parents, and like I said before, on TikTok, I see a lot of young men blaming their mothers, or blaming the fact that their fathers weren't around. And then nowadays I'm seeing a lot of older men blame the system and child support. The system and child support could be a hindrance to you. I remember my daughter's father used to complain about that. He's like, "Oh, child support, this and that." But I used to be like, "But you don't spend time with your kids." I never took it for child support, so let me clear that up, because I don't want anybody thinking, listen, my daughter, my responsibility. You, she's your daughter too. You no response. Okay, that was always my motto in life, and it's carried me this far. My daughter is very self-sufficient, just as her mother is. But I understand for a lot of people that wasn't the case. I understand the system and the way child support and courts play are never in the man's favor, but it's, even if the system and the courts don't play in your favor when it comes to your finances and what you have to pay, you can choose to have a space in your child's life outside of those things. And the same to be said about mothers who went through things while their kids were little, and how they blame their kids, or they put a lot of that pain and all that on their kids. This is what messed up the kids. Okay. So when I say the kids are not all right, these are some of the things that mess up the kids. The kids are getting to a place where they understand that. But instead of us as adults and them as the kids, instead of us choosing to bridge the gap, we blame everything on each other. And then we do it so publicly in a way that is just so damaging to us as a culture. Because I said it before, you'd never meet a group of people who love each other or life more than you love each other. When I say each other, I mean everyone. We just love people. It doesn't matter. I've said this before, and don't debate me, because there was a white man who tried to debate me on this from my podcast. Don't debate me. Debate your mama. Black people are extremely kind people to the rest of the world. For what Black people have endured in this country and what has happened to Black people in this country, the kindness and the generosity that Black people continue to portray, to me, is outstanding. And we offer that generosity and that kindness to other people, but I don't see it so much within our own communities. I am so saddened to see how these young Black men are talking to these young Black women. And I'm so even more annoyed to see young Black women even debating with these people. Like I told you before, if you want to leave the country, leave the country. If you feel like another race is good for you, go with another race. Listen, we're all humans. At the end of the day, we all bleed blood. So who you choose to love is your business. That's your prerogative. No need to go on and be like, just belittle another group of people because of something, that one situation that happened to you. There's no need to curse the church and stop going to church because you went to a church and they hurt you there. Find a good church. Find a Bible based church. And I'm not talking about Joel Osteen, because I as soon as I said that, doesn't he always say that? I'm not talking about Joel Osteen because I hear a lot of stuff about Joel Osteen. But there are great pastors out there who really want to make change. There are great pastors out there who really want to pray for you. There are great churches out there who really want to make change. But unfortunately, social media and the way of the world has taken over, and that's no longer a thing. Everybody's trying to monetize off of something now. That's just so weird to me. Oh my God. There's like a million things in my head right now that are like, as I think about, and I think about all these little situations, I'm just kind of like, this is what's happening to us. You know, you have pastors who want to be so like influencers. Don't be like, stop trying to be influencers and just be influential. Stop walking around with the camera crew. And it's not just for pastors. I'm sorry. Let me be fair. Stop. Like, we need to get to a point where these quote unquote people of wealth and people of status and, you know, whatever it is, because real wealth isn't money. Real wealth is is morals, values, and good people, love of other people, peace. These things are when we're, you don't want to know when we should start feeling wealthy, when we have peace, when we are morally good people, when we, you know, hold hard to our values and choose to, you know, to live that way. That's when you know you are wealthy. Having money is not wealth. I hate to break the news to you. And I see so many people selling courses. I see women selling courses to young women about how to be feminine. Make that make sense. Like, we're women. I see people selling courses to tell people how to be this and how to be that. Like, where everybody's trying to make a profit. I get it. I understand making a way to live. I understand that and I support it. I'm here for it. I support a lot of great brands and people. But once you attain that wealth and you get it, then what? What's next? What are you doing with it? Once you have these platforms, what are you doing with them? Once you have these followings, what are you doing? We've lost living life the King's way and have chosen to live it our way. And we don't realize how much we are perishing. No one is looking around to see what's happening because we all live in our personal world bubble. And it's so weird to me. It keeps me up at night. I know it sounds weird because you're like, girl, you know, like if you look, anybody looking at my life would be like, well, you live a great life. You know, I'm able to do whatever I want to do and buy whatever I want to buy. And that's true. And it, you know, I do feel very blessed. But trust me, I could have way more and I can do way more. But I choose not to. And if you ask me, would I want to be a billionaire? Absolutely. So I can give it back to other people. We should not be in this, we should not still be in a place in 2023 where poverty is as high as it is. We should not be in a place in 2023 where mental health is not taken more seriously, where, you know, we're still treating people as if though, like after 2020, I was like, okay, listen, post pandemic, we are going to be better people because, like, we all got to sit home. A lot of us, not all of us, got to sit at home and watch what was happening in the world. And it was devastating. And if you were not devastated by what was happening in the world, you better check your heart. That was rude. I'm sorry. But if you were not, if you were not, and I mean this, if it didn't bother you to some, I don't know, like, are you the Tin Man? I thought for sure humanity would, like, things would change. There would be a shift. And then I remember vividly, and you can, you know, I would ask my sisters if they were all like, I remember like the George Floyd thing. And I remember saying, wow, like, you know, and I remember there was a slight shift. And I remember the black boxes. And I said, oh, this seems performative. But we went right back. And not only did we go right back, we got worse. Everything got worse. It then became, I don't know if it was like survival of the fittest. I don't know. I don't know what happened, and I don't know where we made a turn. But when I tell you we are literally in a battle of good versus evil, and it is so scary, I don't know how else to explain it. Humanity is lost. Kindness is gone. I'm on these apps and I'm seeing like somebody just saying how this happened to me and this and that. And, I hate to see this person doing this, or it bothers me that this person's doing that. And somebody's response is, we're sorry your mother didn't hug you when you were a baby. What? What does one have to do with the other? And it's not we're sorry in a nice way. It was a very sarcastic and mean an attempt to be mean. And I've seen these comments and I'm like, I've gotten to the point now on, especially on like TikTok and Twitter. I don't really comment too much more on Instagram because if you know anything about kids, you know that they're bullies. They're mean. And I don't respond to foolishness. I don't even give it my energy. But I've gotten to a point where I see these comments and I see these people doing these things. I would always ask, like, how would you feel it was you if it was you? How would you feel if somebody was saying these things to you? And I know fight or flight is, the immediate reaction for most people, but we need to stop living that way. We need to start coming to a place where it's like, you can be right and I can be right. Two things can be right at the same time, and we can agree to disagree, but also want to come together for the greater good of whatever the situation is, right? So when I see people on these apps and they're arguing with each other and they're carrying on and they're just being nasty, and when I say nasty, I'm like, what is happening? They're just being nasty to each other. I stop and I wonder. I'm just like, could this have gone a different way? And the answer for me is always yes. If you know anything about me, I believe that there is more than one way to be right. I believe two things, three things. I believe 10 things can be true and also different at the same time. At the same time, right? There are a million and one ways to come to any conclusion. I wholeheartedly, fully believe in hearing another person's perspective, understanding another person's perspective. Even if I don't agree with it, I listen. That's you. That's how you think. These are the things that you want, and I respect you. They're not for me. We no longer live in that space. Everyone wants to argue with everybody over anything. And it's weird to me. It's very weird to me. When I watch the news and I watch politics, forget it. I want to throw up. I'm like, oh my goodness, how could this be the society that we're choosing to live in? Like, this is weird to me. I'm always telling people, like, I need to get out of this country. Like, people ask me, like, why do you travel so much? I'm like, this country is not okay. I need to go where people are living more peaceful and happy lives because I want to believe that we can one day get here. I want to believe that we can eradicate poverty. And I really believe that. I really fully believe that. There's no reason for anyone on this planet to be a billionaire. And don't debate me. Like that's not debatable. After a certain amount of wealth, all that extra money can do nothing for you. Having billions of dollars you cannot outlive that money. Sometimes your family can't even outlive that money. And then here's another thought on generational wealth and people. I see so many people creating I'm creating generational wealth. You're creating it and you're having it and you're giving it to your kids, but are you teaching your kids how to maintain it? If you're not doing that, you might as well just give it to charity. Because I hate to see what your kids are going to do with it. I was watching something earlier, and this young girl, I don't know, she sells wigs or something, and she's like 23 years old. She is a year, not even a full year, a few months older than my daughter. And she is apparently making hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of dollars. And she's on this app and she is showing you her life. She's like, I spend $50,000 a month alone on going out and eating. And I think to myself, is that necessary? And sure, it's her money, it's her prerogative. She can do whatever she wants. But if you stop at 23, if you stop at 45 and you look back on your life and you saw that you spent $50,000 a month for however many months and years or whatever, how long that happens, while people are starving, I gather that when it's time to go, God would say, and what did you do? And you would say, oh, I spent $50,000 a month on food because I could, because I made money and because da. Really? Admitting that you spend $50,000 a month on just whatever because you can while people are starving, to me, is somebody who lacks good values or good moral character. And I'm not going to judge anybody because listen, I live a nice life. You know, if you know me, I travel first class, I have memberships and this and that, and I can do a lot of great things, but I also do a lot of great things. Understand that. Like, I don't turn my back on people who need. If I see somebody out in the street and I can give it, I will. You know, unfortunately, it is not at, I mean, not unfortunately, fortunately, it is not at my exact front door because of where I live, but it is out there. And I am always trying to think of ways to be better. Even this podcast, how can we be better people? How can we better serve humanity? How can we Lovealution? I want people to love on each other. I want people to understand that the only real wealth that we can have is love. Love for one another is the best wealth. Peace of mind, wealth. That is my message. That is all I'm going to talk about till the end of my days. I want to see us as a better group of people. I have lived, I have seen things, I have experienced things, and I can tell you, like, I was just having this conversation recently, and I'm all over the place, and I know that, but this is a lot, and this is how I speak, and this is how my brain works, so whatever. But I was just having a conversation with my sister about Cuba. She was telling somebody that she was talking to somebody who was either from Cuba or going to Cuba or whatever, and like I've talked about this before to a lot of people, but when I was turning 40, 6 years ago, I visited Cuba because, back then we had just finally gotten back into being able to travel to Cuba because, for a long time you couldn't even travel to Cuba because it's, communist country. It's run by a dictatorship. And I remember I was so excited because I had seen people posting pictures and it looked so stunning and this and that. And I got there and I landed and I went through, and as we're driving to where I was staying, something just came over me and I just got sad. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, it's beautiful. It is. Don't misunderstand that. I like, if you know me, I love old homes. Anything vintage is me. I am vintage. I like to believe I am vintage. So vintage anything is my thing. But as I pulled up to where I was staying and I got there and I started looking around and really seeing how people were living, and because it's a foreign country and you've never been there, and once you get to Cuba there's no internet Wi-Fi because they don't want the people who live there to know anything. They don't want them to be informed of anything going on in the world. They want those people in Cuba to believe that they are living life. Like, you get free schooling, free education, free housing, and you get a monthly stipend. And though it sounds great, it is not a way to live. It is not a peaceful way to live. Cuba is an extremely poor country when it comes to that. The way people can live, the resources and all that stuff. And it hurt me. Like, the entire time I was there, I had a headache. I'm not even kidding you. And I've taken pictures in Cuba, and I think Cuba is a beautiful place, and the people of Cuba are so beautiful. When we were leaving, we had somebody who made food for us every day. So the thing about Cuba is all the money that can be made, whether it's Airbnb, tourism, tours, anything, all that money goes back to the government. These people make maybe $5 a day or whatever the case may be. And again, I'm not saying money is everything, but you can give me a house, but if you don't give me money to maintain the house is going to fall apart. You can give me food, but if you don't allow me fire to make the food, the food is no good. You can give me all these things, but you don't give me money to, like, there's so many things like that don't make sense. And people were going out there and taking all these beautiful pictures. And I kept saying, like, how can you go there and exploit these people? People were taking pictures with these people. And I'm like, how can you exploit these people like that? They are impoverished. And don't listen, I don't want any Cubans like, that's not true. Cuba is beautiful. The people of Cuba are beautiful, but the way they're having and being forced to live is unfair. They are literal prisoners to their country. And sure, it's none of my business. That's another country and group of people, but they're humans like me. That could easily be America. If you think I'm kidding when I say that, that could easily be America. I don't know. You guys, I'm just sad. Like, this episode is probably about nothing, and I probably lost you maybe 15 minutes ago, and I'm okay with that. But I just, like, I'm so sad for the way this country is going, the way people just don't care about each other. There was an earthquake in Syria, and I think at this point over 30,000 people have died, and we just get up and go, oh, you know what, I need new pair of sneakers. Oh, I'm about to go do this. We're not stopping to mourn the loss of life. That could have been us. When you see a school shooting, that could have been your back door. If you have kids, that could have been your kids. We don't stop. We don't pray. We don't stand up. Hate has been running rampant in this country forever. And love is just sitting quietly on the sidelines like, oh no. No, don't do that. We should be like, no, don't do that. Love needs to be loud. Hate is loud. Love needs to be louder. Love needs a megaphone. I guarantee you, if we chose to really stop and not just, oh, I love people I know. I love these people within my proximity. No, everyone. We need to love everyone. Everyone needs to love everyone. We are in the battle of good versus evil. All the good people, literally. I don't care what race. I don't care what religion. I don't care what ethnicity. I don't care what gender. I don't care what age. I don't care anything. If you want to see a better world and you are choosing to be a good person, the good people need to come on, get together, stop playing, because we are in the battle of good versus evil. And because we don't speak up, because there's no community within our Black culture, but within the world as well, there's no community. Hate is much louder. Hate's always going to win. You watch hate win every time some of these raggedy politicians are on their pulpits speaking and saying whatever they want to say. You watch hate win every time somebody even opens their mouth to debate or question slavery. Like, we know that happened. Why is it even a conversation? You have states like Florida that are allowing hate openly, and it's like, oh, it's okay. It's freedom of speech. This is weird. I don't know. I'm not angry. I'm sad. This isn't anger. This is sadness. This is what you hear. This is sadness. And what's even more sad is that there are not enough people to stand up and to say, enough is enough. You have like little spurts of people here, little groups of people. Then you'll have a hate group with 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. You have people with platforms who are only using their platforms to capitalize off of other people's pain, off of other people's insecurities, off of other people's low self-esteem, but you don't have a single platform to say, oh no, we need to come together. Like, I think about how we went from the Black Panthers to everybody selling a stupid course online. Like, how did we go from that to that within our communities? How did we go from all these great groups of people? And listen, say what you want about the Panthers, but they were about community. Okay? I don't care who you are. Say what you want about the Panthers, but they were about community. They weren't trying to sell you anything. They were trying to come together for a common good, for a common interest. Those of us who have had more time on the planet than the next generation, those of us, and I'm speaking like my sisters and I, who have actually experienced racism as children. Like, we were the only Black kids at our school. We are here to teach the next generation, like, okay, well, this is how we navigated, and we navigated as best we could, but there's a better way. There's a way to form, regroup, get together, build alliances with other groups of people. Like, listen, I've told you guys this before. I have friends from all walks of life who I know would, if I asked them to, would go to bat for me if I asked them to. I don't have to ask them. For the most part, those people that I call friends, I know they'll fight for me. But we have a lack of understanding of each other because, well, you're Black and I'm white, or this and that, or whatever the case might be. We don't understand each other there. We don't understand each other as women and men. We don't understand each other's cultures. And we don't understand each other's religions. We don't understand so much about each other. And because the term, people fear what they don't understand is so hardcore true, we live in this state of, it's not really fear, it's anger. We are constantly in fight or flight, and all we do is fight each other. And I hate that for us. And if we don't grow past that, and if we don't get out of those modes and get out of those spaces, and we don't stop doing this stuff, we are doomed. We are in the battle of good versus evil. These are different times. We're living in biblical times. We are truly living in biblical times, and it's very scary. All right. I've talked too much about nothing, and I'm sorry. I've gone over my normal time. Um, oh, I still have so much to say, but I'm going to get off this. Um, I don't have any hot topics, trending topics, anything like that. I was just on the phone with my mother, so I don't have to say call me ma. Ma, you don't have to call me because we were just on the phone. But my mother was sitting, we were talking, and my mother, who, I probably explained this before. My mother has a strong accent. She's Haitian. She came to this country from Haiti. I don't know when she came. I want to say at least 50 years ago. But she has a very strong accent. And, English is not her first language. But she was reading something and she read it to me. And I wrote it down because it was good. And she said, I read this thing. And she was like, I said, wow. And I was like, oh, I love that. So I wanted to share it. My mother had something, she was reading something and it said, when you learn to survive without anyone, you can survive anything. And I was like, wow, that is amazing, Ma. So I wanted to share with you. It had nothing to do with the topic or the podcast, or maybe it did. I don't know. But when you learn to survive without anyone, you can survive anything. That is a profound statement. And I want to thank my mom for sharing that with me. I love you, Mom. I love you guys for listening. I'm sorry I was all over the place. I'm probably all over the place, but I don't really care. This is my platform. I'm really going to choose to do what I want to do versus trying to fit into what culture does. And I'm going to continue to be that way. And I hope you will too. And I hope everyone in the world just continues to be them without the need of a platform or followers or monetizing off of it. Just be a good person. Let's just be good people. Let's not talk about being good. Let's be actually good people. Anyway, I love you all for listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know how to find me on everything at this point. And I'll talk to you guys next week.